For rule supports, these are about visuals that show people what the rule is. For example, I supported a child where they were weekend hikers. The family liked to hike and the kid loved hiking. But if it were a really rainy day like today, they would not be going hiking. And the kid found this quite upsetting and he didn't quite understand the rule about whether or not we were going hiking. And so we did, when it's raining, which is not misty, but rain, we are not hiking. And if it's sunny, we're hiking. And I think they also had sort of the partial sun and cloud picture, and they had sort of the few other conditions when hiking was allowed versus when we're not going. And in the morning, if the weather was rainy, they put that picture up on the fridge so that he could see what the rule was today. We're not going hiking, and this is why. Right, so I now understand the parameters around hiking versus no hiking. Because before that, all he got was, we're not hiking. I don't know why we're not hiking. Why do we not hike some days, but we do hike other days? I don't know. Right, when we provided that information, that was quite helpful for him. Typical things that we use in schools, right? Wait in line. What are the 2 rules about waiting in line primarily that most teachers have? Hands to yourself, mouth shut. Right? So again, visuals. And a lot of times when I go into schools, what the teachers realize pretty quickly are that the visuals I'm proposing for the kid with autism are quite helpful for everybody else. They go, hallelujah, this is great. Right? And it is great, and that's a nice thing. Now, this isn't a specialized intervention. This is a support that everybody benefits from. We might use the universal no symbol to convey that something is not available. And you have to teach what this symbol means, because a red circle with a line through it, nobody automatically knows what that means, but they know what it means when you show it to them and you do not allow access to that thing, right? You have to experience it a couple of times, and there's usually a couple of not so happy experiences until we realize the differentiation. Oh, if there's the red circle in line, I don't get it. No red circle in line, I do get it. Great, okay? The trick that I have to making these symbols so that we can use them pretty easily is to go to the office store and get clear overhead projector paper, right? So it's like clear plastic that can go in your printer. And I will make a bunch of these symbols that are the no symbol. And now it's on clear paper. Also at the office store, I get sticky note glue stick. If you go to the sticky note area, they have glue stick. That's the kind of glue that makes Post-it notes on a glue stick. So I will glue stick the back of these universal no symbols, and now I can attach them to a symbol. So if I've got a symbol for computer and computer's not available, I can take this clear plastic no symbol and adhere it over top of computer. And so it shows no computer. So it would look just like this. Okay? Dry erase pen doesn't work so well because kids figure out really quickly that they can just erase it. Okay. The other thing you can look at are choice boards. Right? Choice boards provide information about the things I can select right now. Right? No, I can't choose anything in the world, but I can choose from this set of things. So free time, for example, here are a bunch of things that I can choose to play with. Right? And sometimes we actually have to teach kids how to make a choice. They don't actually know how to make a choice. When you say, okay, go play, I don't know what that means. I don't know what to do. Right? Okay, go play. Here you choose. What are you going to do now? Right? We actually start teaching choices that way. Okay? And it's just about showing. These symbols, as you see, they look kind of similar to the Boardmaker picture communication symbols, but they're not. They're called symbol sticks, and they're as close to the Boardmaker picture communication symbols as possible without getting sued. So they look very, very much like picture communication symbols. So if your child is used to the Boardmaker PCSs, won't have any problem with these. This is a subscription. It's an online subscription access to these symbols, and I think the subscription is about $45 to $50, and you have access to thousands and thousands of symbols online that you can download and use, or you can create your visuals online in their software program. So you just sign in and you get to make your stuff there. So if you're not wanting to buy Boardmaker and you just kind of want basic symbol access, they've got all kinds of stuff. Right? So symbol stick's helpful. And then we've got contingency maps. So you saw contingency maps already. We looked at contingency maps with the student that we supported in the home setting. But this is just a visual display of different paths of behavior and different outcomes. It has to include the antecedent trigger, what triggers problem behavior. And then it shows the problem behavior and the consequence for that behavior, as well as a desired or alternative behavior and the consequence for that. This was developed by Ken Brown, who was a consultant at CBI Consultants many moons ago and is now a private consultant. And he did his master's project on contingency mapping. And so it's been published. He and Pat Miranda, his advisor, published it. So here's the antecedent trigger, for example, when you finish computer. And this was for a kid whose problem behavior was finishing schoolwork and sitting until he got a personal invitation to do the next thing. And he literally, if you didn't prompt him, would sit there for the rest of the day. So if you sit and don't bring your work to your EA or teacher and say, I'm finished, you will not, and this was a kid who at this point was primarily reinforced by food items, but thankfully broccoli was one of his food items. But you will not get a treat, cracker, broccoli, or juice. This is the only kid I've known to date who's reinforced by broccoli. But when you finish computer, if you get up, bring your work, and say finished, you will get a treat. Right? And over time, they faded out the treats and included other kinds of reinforcers. This solved the problem like that. And this was a high-functioning kid who had good language, but if they only explained the contingencies to him, if you do this, then that, if you do something else, he didn't get it. As soon as they showed it to him visually, his behavior changed night and day. And this is an example I made for a child I went and supported in the home who was not a happy camper in the morning. She is not a morning person. And she would be yelling at people before she even got out of bed. She literally would wake up and start like yelling to her sisters and saying nasty things immediately. So they reviewed this at nighttime, and it was on a little plastic stand on her night table. So as soon as she woke up, it was pretty much the first thing she saw. So when I wake up, if I speak kindly or frankly say nothing at all, that is an equally acceptable response in the morning. You don't have to talk. I can use the iPad during breakfast, right? It's a big family. Everybody was coming and going. So if you eat your breakfast, you can have the iPad if you are kind or just zip it. However, if you say mean things or yell, no iPad during breakfast. Right? And again, she had to experience a couple of times not getting the iPad, right? Just, do you really mean it? Oh, really? I'm not getting it? Oh, okay. And this significantly reduced her problem behavior. And then finally, temporal supports, waiting support. So this is really time-based information that we want to give individuals. Right? When an activity will occur, how long it's going to last, when it's going to end, particularly if it's something I don't like doing. How long do I have to wait to get something that I want, right? Parents who are sick of hearing, is it time to go? Can we go now? Can we go now? Can we go now? Can we go now? Right? Very helpful for that. So I mentioned already putting clock faces in your schedule. Right? This is really helpful for lots of kids who have difficulty figuring out when are the transitions. I'm cool with what the transitions are, but I need to know when things are happening. Right? Again, particularly for those kids who are incessantly asking for the next thing. What's next? When are we going? When are we going? Putting clocks. Time timer. How many of you are familiar with the time timer? Right? This is a very nice tool. You can actually get physical timers, but you can also get a time timer app now for your various and sundry devices. And essentially the way this works is that you turn the little red dial to whatever amount of time either the person has for an activity or has to wait for an activity. And as time passes, the red disappears. And when the time is gone, right, when the red's gone, the time is up. So there's that. There's also the time tracker, which frankly is my favorite because it provides that sort of intermediary information. So you can have it count up from green to red. So I'll often use green to red if a kid's doing a preferred activity. Green means I'm doing it, yellow means it's almost done, red means it's over. Or if we're waiting for an activity, we go from red to green. Red means I'm waiting, yellow means it's almost time, green means I get to do whatever it is we're doing. And the nice thing about this particular timer is that you can set it for any length of time at all, and you can actually set the length of time for each color. Right, so if it's an individual who needs kind of a lot of processing time around a transition, right, something's gonna stop soon, you can have that yellow last for 3 or 4 minutes if they kind of need extra warning versus a 30-second yellow, right? So you have complete control over that. The other nice thing is that there's an app called Stop Go. It's free, and it works pretty much exactly the same way. So you can go home and look up Stop Go and download that. Okay? There are a whole bunch of apps, and we'll talk apps in a month's time, but Viz Timer, Picture Prompt Timer, Time This are 3 kinds of visual timers that are available for various and sundry tablet-based devices. So some look like the time timer, but are free. And others have a schedule with timers embedded, and this is a first then timer. So you do this first, and when the time is done, you move on to the next activity. Right? These are a few of a very long list of visual timers and schedules that have timers that you can have on your devices.